In this video, we are going to cover simple interest. So we're going to be using the formula I equals PRT, or IPERT. I standing for simple interest, P standing for the principal, or what you start with, R standing for the annual interest rate, and remember we have to make sure we turn that into a decimal, and T standing for time, which is always in years. So let's go ahead and do our first problem. So here it says to find the interest earned. So we have $600 at 5% for 2 years. So the interest earned, that means we are looking for I. So we are going to start with writing our formula. I equals PRT. So that's going to be our first line of work. Then the second thing that we are going to want to do is do our plug-in step. So we still don't know our I, but our principal, what we're starting with, is at $600, so we're going to plug in $600. The rate is 5%, but we have to turn that into a decimal, so it's 5/100, 0.05. And then our T is time in years. That's already given to us in years, so we're going to put a 2 in there. So our next line of work can either be some multiplication, or we can just write our answer here. So we can get out our calculator, and we're going to take 600, multiply that by 5/100, which will give us 30, multiply that by 2, and we get 60. So our simple interest that we earn is $60. We had our principal, our rate, and our years, so we plugged that in for P, R, and T, and we solved for I. So let's go ahead and try our second one. It says find the annual interest rate, which is the R. So that's going to be the one we're missing. So we're given our interest is $24, our principal, our P, is $400, and our time is in years, again, 2 years. So let's write our formula first. Remember, we want to write that first every single time. I equals PRT. Our interest we're actually given, so it's 24, equals the principal, which is 400. Our rate, we don't know, so we're just going to leave that as an R. And then T for time is 2 years. So we can't just multiply all these numbers together, but what I'm going to do is look at the right side of my equation, and I see that this 400 and this 2, I can multiply those together. So 400 times 2 is 800, and I still have that R, so 800R. Now, I need R all alone, because we need to solve for R, so I need to divide R by 800 to get it by itself, so I have to do the same thing to the left side, and this is where our calculator comes in handy. So we're going to take our 24, divide it by 800, and we get 0 and 3/100 equaling R. Now, that is not the rate just yet. We have to actually change that back into percent form. So we take our decimal and move it twice to the right, then we get 3% is our annual interest rate. So that's solving for R. Let's go on to our next one. Some more simple interest problems. Here we're finding the amount of time, which is our T. So we are given our simple interest of $30, our principal of $500, and our rate of 3%. So we're going to start with our formula. I equals PRT. Our interest is $30, so we're going to plug that in for I. We're going to put our equal sign. Our principal here is $500, so we're going to plug in 500 there. Our rate is 3%, but remember, we're not going to plug in 3%. We actually have to change that into a decimal. So we have 0 and 3/100. And then we don't know our time, our T, so our T stays just our variable. Again, we can't just multiply our numbers. We're going to have to solve for T, but we can multiply 500 by 3/100. So we're going to take 500, multiply it by 3/100, and we get 15. So I have 30 equals 15 multiplied by T. And in order to get T by itself, we have to divide by that coefficient, which is 15. So we do the same thing to the left side, and we get T to equal 2. And here, T stands for time, which is in years, so our label would be 2 years. Now, our last problem says to find the annual interest rate. So again, we're given the simple interest of $54, the principal of $900, and then our time is 18 months. But hopefully we remember that our time always has to be in years. So what I'm going to do first is take that 18 months and change it into years. So that's actually 1.5 years. So we need to make sure we change our time into years if it's given to us in months. So again, we're still finding that R, that percentage. So we're going to start with our formula I equals PRT. Our interest is $54. Our principal is 900, so we're going to plug in 900 for P. Our R, we don't know, and then our T is 1.5, not 18. If we put an 18 there, that would actually stand for 18 years. So this formula is built to use our time in years, so we need to make sure we use that as well. So again, since we're solving for R, I'm going to multiply that 900 and 1.5. So when I multiply 900 by 1 5/10, I get 1,350. Remember, again, you can use a calculator. And we multiply that by R and set that equal to 54. Again, I need to solve for R, so I'm going to divide both sides by 1,350 to get R by itself. So 54 divided by 1,350, that gives us 0.04. And lastly, the last step that we have to do is take that decimal and turn it into a percentage. So that would be a 4% annual interest rate. So for our simple interest, we're going to be given 3 out of the 4 pieces in that I equals PRT, and we have to solve for that missing variable. Make sure when you're dealing with the annual interest rate, if you're plugging it into the formula that you are given it, like this third problem here, make sure you turn it into decimal form. Now, if you're solving for it like we did on this last problem, make sure you take that answer that you get once you divide and turn it back into a percentage. So this is the end of our video. Go ahead and rewatch and re-listen to any explanations you feel is necessary, but make sure you look over your work, look over your notes, and happy studying!